Alright. Now let me start playing the music. There we go. And then I'm just gonna share the stream, and then we will get started. Hello, Carp. How you doing? Finally got off my shift, beer in hand, and now a Sci-Fi stream. Life too good. Nice. Hey, Josh. How you doing? Also, hey, Carp again. Fish. You know what that fish? Welcome, one and all, to the stream. Also, yes, I'm working on upgrading a normal Zylock with the Incarnon, because I think the normal one looks cooler. Yeah, Carp, you got the joke, yes. I love that joke. We're gonna do an interesting stream today, because I've always wanted to do this, and basically what's going on in this stream, I'm gonna redo again from, or in the modding guide itself. So everything that's talked about in this stream is gonna get moved into there. I'm just not gonna use anything from the stream. At least no footage anyway. Hey, Platypus. Bro, you stole it from me? I did. Absolute GigaChat upgrading the base Psylocke. It looks so much cooler than the Prime, if I'm being honest. Like, I like the normal one way more. It looks way better. And it sounds way better, too. Alright, so we're gonna go to Samaris. So we're gonna let the, let everyone get in the stream real quick, and then we'll get started on this, what the purpose of this stream is gonna be. So I'll wait until the 5-minute mark hits, and then we'll actually start. So how much math are we talking the ultimate? Quite a bit. Like, I mean, there's some stuff that I am going to be leaving out because it's not necessarily important when it comes to modding, but there are going to be there's a lot of math and a lot of abstract concepts that we're going to be discussing in the modding guide. Especially surrounding things like, crowd control as well, since I'm going to bring up that when we talk about Warframe, when we talk about modding for Warframes and stuff. Hey, Xena, how you doing? Just gonna, like I've said to everyone else that's already here, we're just gonna wait until it hits 5 minutes before we actually start what the stream's gonna be doing. The stream's probably gonna be a short one, nothing too crazy. Because it's more so just talking about all the different Warframe, well, weapon status effects specifically, and talk about how they work. Hey Zan, how you doing, my friend? This one's going to be a very, very fun one. Since we're going to be talking about Warframe weapon status effects and how they scale. Which, as I've said, everything that is going on in this stream, we're going to be talking about in the modding guide. So this is like a little bit of a diet look at it, kind of what we're going to be discussing. Bass Liza P music. Yeah, I love Liza P. I can't wait for Liza P Overture to come out, the DLC. I want to know what goes on in that DLC so bad. Surviving? Hey, at least you're here, my friend. I always like it when you're around, dude. Well, actually, wait, I shouldn't call you dude. I don't know at this point. I'll just call you Zan. My bad. I'm good, just in the simulacrum running some tests so I can finish my script. Hell yeah! Based. Hello, Shadow. Haha, yeah. Hell yeah, Zan. That's what I like to see. Okay. 20 more seconds, and then we'll actually get started on what the stream's gonna be about. And I'll go over everything that we're gonna be talking about. Hello, Lucifer. Welcome to the stream. Your good gender is fake anyways. That's a way to look at it, alright. Won't judge. So what we'll do for this, we're gonna use a basic Bratton for this. Like, this thing, I was trying to get an incarnate for this, but you know what? We're just gonna use this as the test. We'll swap between some other weapons that can kind of showcase the other stuff that we're talking about, too. OMG, lol. For real. Okay, so 5 minutes has hit. So welcome, everybody, to this interesting Warframe stream that we're doing today. That is probably going to be a lot shorter than the other ones I usually do. Maybe an hour max. We'll see how far it goes. So this stream is going to be both an explanation of how the various status effects in Warframe work. I might get some parts of this wrong because I'm still learning about it for the script. The modding guide script. So this is also going to be a little bit of a learning experience in case I discovered something that I forgot about or I messed up. And also a ranking of all the status effects, where I talk about why some of them are better than others right now when it comes to Warframe specific stuff. So, to start us off, we'll use the Brett. Actually, no, I'll just use random weapons. I was just going to use this, but I think we'll just use it. Use whatever weapon I feel like. We'll start off with the Purgator a little bit, because it kind of gets a better idea. Since it has a forced impact. Where's my Purgator? There you are. Beautiful. On the secondary, we'll figure this out. Catalyst could actually be good for showing off corrosive, so let's do that. And then for this, we'll do Toxin, since it has innate Toxin. So what we'll do is basically drop all these. And we're just going to talk about Toxin here for this. I'm doing research on all the possible ways you can boost status damage. Interesting, alright. Yeah, when it comes to the modding guide, I'm doing like a very basic look at increasing status damage. Because, like, here's the thing. Even though it's like a big modding guide, it's not intended to be like the ultimate guide in the sense I know absolutely everything. Because, like, I don't think anybody in Warframe can know everything at once when it comes to this kind of stuff. So we're going to take a very basic look at it. So what we're going to do is remove all mods first. Like this. So this is corrosive. So we'll talk about it a little bit. Okay, so as we all know, in Warframe, there are currently, let me think, 1, 2, 3, 8, so 11. There are 13 different status effects that can be acquired through weapons or abilities in Warframe. There's the IPS status effects, so Impact, Puncture, Slash, the Elemental mods, 4 base elementals, 4 combined, and then there is Void and Tau. Was status damage buffing prevalent before elemental mods were introduced, besides the Banes, of course? Yes, Joshua, because there are some status effects that will scale with different elementals differently. Let me turn down the music real quick. There we go. Sorry. Hello, Michael. So, basically, we're going to go over some of the basic ones and talk about how they work. Kind of heat inherit buffs with Banes. A little bit dark, but there's more to that when it comes to status effects. Because it's not just knowing about Banes and things like heat inherit, it's also understanding things like enemy spacing and how different status effects can affect different enemies. So, for example, we have Puncture. This one force procs on direct hit. For Puncture, as you can see, it does 2 things. It staggers enemies. No matter how much puncture the enemy already has, it will always cause a stagger. So you can go above the puncture limit to get it to work. When that happens, any enemies, like this boy right here, for example, will have the mercy threshold they have increased. Hey, Exobot. Impact. Lol, for real. It basically, impact, rather cheesily, has a lot of impact. Because although it may not do direct damage, it has access to either things like internal bleeding, if you want to go that route to force proc slash, or you could use it for finisher builds. Let me bring up a good example. We're going to switch to the Cyclone for this. So people might be wondering, when they look at me playing this game, why I run a Cyclone with impact. And this is because on the Cyclone specifically, you can gain not only a lot of status effects, you get a lot of procs, which makes it really easy. Let me do this. To do things like this. And get a finisher. Because of this, I can easily proc, as you can see in the top left corner, or top right corner, Arcane Escapist. I think, personally, Impact, from what I have played ever since, what was it? Tekra Encore dropped with the finishers and everything, like the finisher arcanes, and just actually getting into using... Let me show my Parazon. Well, the thing is that when you build into Finisher Sand, they can really become useful. Like, you can use things like Hard Reset, which makes it faster for your companion to recover. You can use Power Drain for increased power strength after you get a Mercy kill. And although I don't have it here, you can also use something like Blood for Life to get health, which can help with things like Equilibrium. Let me get a drink real quick. Because of this... That's a funny sim glitch. Because of this, it becomes really easy to build up and get this going. Like that. Hello, Lee. You're right, Parazons are really powerful, I always forget that. Yeah, like, the thing is, Puncture is not Puncture, Impact is amazing as a utility damage type. Like, it forces staggers on enemies, even above its status limit, which is really nice. And more importantly, it allows you to build into the Parazon, as well as finisher arcanes. Like, especially ones like Trickery and stuff. Futuristic Hidden Blade needs rework. That's funny. But yeah, because of this, I'm now gonna do this. Because I have built into the finisher mechanic, it means that with Escapist... Oh, wait. Wait, why am I invincible? Wait. Oh, wait. Oh, that's... Okay. Because of this, I have triggered Escapist. And now I can go back into here, freeze them up. And do this. Making it really easy to get my stacks back. When combined with a frame like Limbo, who is able to do this sort of thing. Like that. There we go. My escapists are back. I could probably do it faster under the right circumstances, but you get the idea. It makes it really good as a utility type. Utility damage type. And it's why, for this reason, I tend to put Impact... Like, if we're going by a letter grade system, I typically put it in B. Because when you build into Impact, it's incredible. Like, honestly, one of the best damage types for raw utility because of what it can provide. But obviously, because you have to put so much into it, it does make it niche. But it's still powerful. Like, it's powerful, but it's held back by the drawbacks of having to build into it, which is fair. Which is why I feel it sits quite comfortably at like a B, like a lower B, if we're talking about status rankings. Something people don't know is that physical damage also affects the damage of statuses, so if you want more raw status damage on your weapons, not exactly, Doc. Like, the actual physical damage types, like Impact and Puncture, don't increase the status damage, or like the proc. At least I don't believe they do, but I know that universal damage types like Serration do. That might be what you're talking about. I just wish Parazon finishers were like... Yeah, that's kind of fair, Zan. My only thing is Arcane Escapist usually has to play against defensive Arcanes like Aegis, but I could see a justification for Escapist. B sounds fair. Yeah, like, it's really good in its niche, and really good when you build into it, and it also kind of plays kind of passively if you even have just a little bit of impact on your weapon. Like, if you just draw a raw impact weapon, be mindful of the Eximus units and stuff like that, you could quite easily get Escapist going, as well as the Parazon mods. Which is why I typically put in B. Not crazy OP, but also not terrible. So I'm going to pause AI again. Next, let's talk about Puncture. Let me get a Puncture-focused weapon. You know what? The Boltor. So we're going to have this right here. So Puncture, what it does is that it makes it so that enemies' damage is reduced up to 80%, and increases critical chance of damage taken by 25% with multiple stacks. Obviously just reading what it says. I think Puncture has had such a huge wake-up call since it got this change when it comes to the crit. Because the thing about the crit here... So I have 22% crit chance here, right? Let me take these against the enemies. What you might not know about the crit chance is that it's a flat crit. See how I'm getting more yellow crits, yellows, or the dark blues right there, rather than the light blues? But it's enemy specific. There we go. And then it goes up like that. Like, Puncture, especially on low, like, crit chance weapons, but with a lot of sass chance, can be incredible just getting that crit, and can outright replace, where's the mod? Let me pull it up. Depending on the weapon, can outright replace critical delay. Because, say you have a weapon that has 10% crit chance, right? With this thing, with the flat crit that you get, it's higher than using critical delay, which means that you could move or use that mod slot that would typically be taken up by critical delay for something else, like extra crit damage for something like hammer shots, or even more elemental damage, because it gives you that leeway. And the extra crit is nice because on a weapon like the Boltor here, for example, let me go back to this build. Remove this. Actually, no, not a weapon like this, but I'll still put it on anyway. Say you have like 75% crit chance here. After these mods are all taken into account, it will be with Galv Scope here. Let me put the reload back on. And just so that way... Actually, no, you know what? I don't want to add base damage yet. I'd like Mercy finishers a lot more if it was easier to not kill the enemy to actually get the finisher. Also, why Mercy kills are really nice on Dedicants. That's fair. That's fair. Like I said, you have to build into them if you want to make it good. But it's pretty easy to do when you're mindful. So because of this build, I am able to build into... Let me do this. Let me get the kill. Actually, screw it. Let's do that. Because of the extra flat crit, there we go, I am able to get into orange crits rather easily, like that. It helps push it above a little bit. Once we take into account the Galv Scope and stuff. Like, that flat crit helps. Not amazing, but it helps to get you into that higher tier, which is nice. To use a weak primer like Cycron / Phantasma, weak might not be the right word, but if it's not your primary DPS, it's good enough, as long as it's a lot of fast impact. Yes, Lee. Yes. And what's most interesting about Puncture, let me actually get an enemy out real quick. We'll do one enemy. We'll get one out, and we'll do pause AI. Is that it will reduce the damage that we take. Yeah, see, the damage is much lower. But now that the impact is gone, or about to be gone, I'm now taking way more damage. Versus... Let me wait for that to go away and wait for my shields to go back up, because I'm trying a different build here. Versus without the impact, look how fast my shields degraded that time. It's not a huge difference, but in lower levels, where the damage isn't as crazy high, that damage reduction that they do stacked with your shields can make somewhat of a difference. It's mostly going to be a difference with health tanks. Like with Nidus or something. Because of how damage reduction works. So because of the flat crit and the fact that the modifiers for Puncture, because I believe it's now... What enemies are weak to Puncture now? Let me look. Let me take a look. No, wrong thing. I did not prepare for this at all, if you couldn't tell. Now that Corpus and Orican are weak to Puncture, it has a pretty good matchup if you want to fight Corpus specifically, because of shields and stuff. Nowhere in any DOT calculation is IPS damage included, not even slash. Yeah, I was gonna say Zan. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. I really wish that we had some way of mass applying Puncture. Yeah, that's like the biggest problem with Puncture, is that in concept, it sounds incredible for the damage reduction part. It's more useful for the flat crit that you get, and the matchup is pretty decent. Not amazing, but decent. And on status-heavy weapons, especially in combination with a DOT like heat and stuff, it can actually make a pretty huge difference if the crit is too low. Not amazing, but it can help. So because of that, I would say Puncture is a solid C+, maybe B- status effect. It's good to have, but it's not incredible. Like, it's nowhere near some of the other ones. Wouldn't the piercing roar augment be good for mass? It would be mentally ill. It does. I'd kill for everyone on a mecha target. Yeah, that's fair. Doc Ock. But yeah, like, it's specifically with the roar augment, that's not a bad idea. But the fact that it's hard to get a whole lot of Puncture doesn't help. Like, if we had a way of getting a ton of Puncture onto enemies really consistently, it would be one of the best ways for damage mitigation. Because you could stack armor, you could stack a DR ability, you could stack adaptation, and you would stack the damage reduction from the Puncture. And especially with, like, a long status duration, easily tank. Most likely. Especially with, combined with health. Health regen. Piercing is interesting because it nerfs the enemy's damage, so if you can apply a ton of what you're doing something. Yeah, stabs. Like, that's what... Like, in concept it sounds amazing, but the fact that we can't apply it that well, that much, is bad. But the flat crit is still nice, and the matchup is nice, so I would say C. 5 tally yellows. Oh yeah, for casting speed and parkour velocity. Because it's so good. If they ever remove shield gating, I'll have to remember this. Lol, that's fair. Yeah, I meant more from a weapon standpoint that's dedicating a helmet and an augment as well as a pretty decent amount of energy. Yeah, true, Zan. That's a good point. Like, damage reduction, for those who don't know, is just not that good after a while, because you have to invest so much into it to make it good, versus something like shield gating or full-blown invulnerability or dodging damage, like with Limbo does with the Rift, that takes almost no investment at all to get it going. Like, you could get away with 2 mods for shields and you'd be set, whereas with health tanking, you need armor, you need health regen, you need a DR ability, you need adaptation, you need so much to make it good, which for context, is why I hate what they're doing with Valkyrie so much. Because I don't mind them getting rid of the invincibility necessarily. The problem is that health tanking just does not work that well because of the investment. I feel like Puncture and Impact still need some mods focused on them alone and not just like... Yeah, that's fair, Savior. I feel like Puncture's in a better spot because of the utility niche it has with finishers and how much you can get going with finishers now with the different arcanes we have. Puncture specifically, because it doesn't have that kind of leeway, I would say is a C. Like, it's good. It's good to have. It's just not amazing. Alright, now let's look at Slash. Let me find Slash. What is a good Slash weapon? Where are you? I guess we could do the Dread. They should just take the cap off of Armor DR and see what happens. Oh god. Back just gonna lurk. Alright, Josh. What's the player base percentage that has cleared and actively plays Steel Path? I actually don't know about that slide. I would imagine quite a bit. Like, not a crazy amount, but at least somewhat. Also, yes, I have not finished leveling up the Dread yet. So we're going to remove all of these for the sake of transparency. So, we have the Dread here, a heavily slash-weighted weapon. Yeah, health tanking with chargers still requires tons of armor to stay up. Yep. Even at 99% damage reduction, at some point the damage will just one-shot. Yep, Katsu. And that is why I hate the Valkyrie changes. It's, like I said, it's not even because they're getting rid of the invincibility. It's the fact that it's being switched to a arguably worse tanking method that dates her now. Like, she's going to be limited at some point. Like, if people, especially because of how fast the scaling is getting on some of these game modes, people are not going to have fun when playing her around health tanking. They seem to be catering to that audience more. Yeah, it's like... It's a weird situation right now with that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be catering somewhat to different audiences. Like, that's fine. Because, like I said, it's not the invulnerability being gone that's the issue. It's the fact it's being swapped for an arguably terrible form of tanking that's an issue. Because of the investment and the fact that it just does not scale. I play only Steel. Admittedly, I haven't recircled the chart. Okay. That's fair. Okay, so we got the Dread here. So Slash is the last of the physical damage types. Let me spawn a bunch of these guys. Just for the sake of doing it. And the way the SAS effect works on Slash, and this is why people tend to get confused on how it works, is that it will do a DOT... like this. Nope. Can it spawn? There we go. 569 damage right there, right? The way Slash scales is that it will take into account your crit multipliers and your base damage. Only those two things. As well as other multipliers like headshot multipliers and stuff into account when spawning the Slash. As well as Banes. So let me show you this. Mods that boost Slash damage do not scale the Slash proc. So let me find this. Where is Slash? I know I had a Slash mod somewhere around here. Fast hands, magazine more. There's piercing hit. That's not what I'm looking for, though. There's Slash. So what we're going to do is put you here. I'm going to level you up. So here it is, 90% Slash. So see the Slash increases, the base Slash increases. And you know, I don't need to reset it. And now watch this. If it will spawn, come on. There we go. See, the Slash tick does not go up. That was a normal hit. Normal hit again, 142, 285, so that... Oh, that's a crit Slash. Wait a minute. Okay, there we go, 569. Like we saw before, without the without the mod, and with the mod now, it's still 569, so it does not scale the slash. The only way to increase it, like I said, is to either boost your crits, like your crit multiplier, external damage multipliers like viral, which are damage vulnerability multipliers for those who don't know. And let me find, where is it? Where's the mod? There's Serration. I'm gonna put Serration on. So this, when we attack now, will scale the slash. And now look, it's 754 this time. Meanwhile, my Nyx is invincible at creating an ever-increasing heat explosion with her heat and inherent afflictions and contagious bond. I'm currently trying to craft a build to make Hildren tank level cap. Probably can make it work with Ancient Protector and so. Well, no, the thing is, is that she can because she has shield gating on her side. Like, what you should be investing to on her is getting the shields back as your top priority. And stats damage effects, yes, Sam, they do scale with multipliers like those. I believe it's like a Serration multiplier, so it won't scale the base damage, but it instead scale the slash, but it's additive with other multipliers like this. So let me add. I could be wrong, because I still need, like I said, I'm still completing everything. Like, nothing's final yet when it comes to this stuff, because even I'm still learning things. But let me add, where it is, Rifle Elementalist. If it's a 90% multiplicative bonus, it means that the 756 should become like 1,000, like more than 1,000. But I'm pretty sure it's additive with whatever the base multiplier is. 1,432. It was. Oh no, wait, is it multiplicative? Oh shit. Never mind. I guess it is multiplicative with that stuff. I'll have to look into more calculations, but yeah. But the minion build isn't as fun and satisfying as walking slowly through a battlefield, as an ever-expanding explosion consumes all enemies. Yeah, it's multiplicative. Okay, yeah. Like I said, I'm still learning some of these things, so I'm not completely sure. I assumed it was additive with whatever the base thing was. I didn't realize it was multiplicative. That's my bad. But yeah, slash. And for those who have been playing for a while, you might be wondering why slash after the update, Jade Shadow specifically, became shit. The reason why it became shit is that Grineer, yes, and even, what's it called? What are the enemies called? The Murmur. Even though they had a negative multiplier against armor, the multiplier to health below the armor is what the proc would scale with. Which in some cases would either cancel it out or lead to even more damage because it would offset those multipliers, in a sense. But because the proc no longer had, after the changes, the multiplier to slash below armor on like Grineer units and Encrypted Heavy Gunners, it used to be true damage. That's it still is technically, Doc. The problem is that the multipliers are gone. So because of that, the slash simply just does not do nearly as much damage as it used to anymore, because it no longer had that multiplier below the armor that the slash proc would multiply with. The reason slash is bad now is because it's armor bypassing damage. Well, yes, Dan, but it's also because of that. It was the multiplier. So we're talking about how slash and radiation are mid? Yes, that's a bit. We're talking about different procs. So because of that, because those things are gone, you now need a lot more to make slash good. Now, there are exceptions. Let me bust out, what's it called? Where's the mod? We'll use the Purgator for this, because I feel it helps. If we wanted to, we could use Eternal Bleeding, but in this case I'm going to use 100 Munitions. Because the ones spawned through 100 Munitions are a bit different, where they take into account all of your damage, including other elemental modifiers. Let me put Acuity on too. That way we can get guaranteed yellow crits when we get headshots. So we talk about, I think the armor changes, mainly the corresponding health buff was also a major hit. It was, and because now the slash no longer has those multipliers to scale with. Crits in Garuda main. It's actually becoming enemy HP is so ballooned because they're at EHP. Well, yes, Zan, but it was also because the multipliers are gone too, so it's even worse. It's a mix of so many things. It's not just one thing. Full moon with internal bleeding, it really because force impact proc. Yes, Stance, that's true. With Zato, Whisper is hilarious. The E nerfed their armor but buffed the health, so slash does less relative. Well, yes, but like I said, the actual damage itself is lowered because those multipliers are gone. So what we have here, we get the slash going. The damage is significantly higher because it scales now with whatever the crit is. So for example, let us stack a bunch of different damage types on this. We'll just throw on damage at this point because it doesn't matter too much to what we're talking about. We're just going to do a bunch of random damage types, effectively. Make it crits. Actually, wait, we'll do that. And then status damage will also help. So we'll put on this, and then we'll put on Cannonade. So we have all this damage now. Now let us dome him. These aren't final, keep in mind, so I could be spouting bullshit. Yeah, there's a slash. There it is, 200k. Right there. Much higher. De-nerfed. Yeah, that too. Heat viral brain rot. I'm actually... You guys are gonna hate what I say when I talk about viral. Like, you guys are all gonna lynch me, I think, when I talk about viral a little bit. But as you can see... There's a slash. He's dead. Significantly higher. 218. Now let us remove one of the elemental mods. So there's that mod gone. So now we've lost around 1,000 damage. Now let's hit a headshot again. See, oh no, it doesn't scale with that. Okay. Okay, nope, I was wrong. It's still the same as before, I guess. Okay. So I guess Darku lied. Because that's what he told me. Or somebody. I don't know. Like I said, not final. I'm still learning things. But yeah, Hunter Munition Slash is kind of good because it's a force slash based on crits and like base damage multipliers. Like, it's extremely good for that reason. Viral is good because 4.5 times damage. Yes, stats, but there's some reasons why that we'll get into when we talk about viral, why I don't think it's as good as people say it is. I'm betting I share your opinion. Yo, Sci-Fi, it was dope seeing you in that dojo. Great content, sir. Thank you, Hydra. Dark moment. I am never trusting Darku ever again. Hey, Alex. Slash select and such. Well, yeah, the headshot multiplier, too. That's important. Like, the headshot multiplier in other vulnerability methods related to enemies also scale slash procs. But despite this... Slash is still terrible for one very big reason. Correction, not terrible, but not that great. It doesn't scale with its own mods. And similar to Gas, you really don't see a difference unless you have other vulnerabilities. Especially like Viral. And have some way to scale the proc. Like, if you have tons of base damage like this, like, let me get a Rift Torrent out. We'll just stack the base damage multipliers on top of each other. You can get some pretty crazy damage. If I can get the slash. Yeah, like even the gas is scaling pretty decently. Let me reroll. Come on, slash proc. There we go. See, 498 right there. It's a significant difference if you could get a lot of base damage and a lot of crits into your build. And I believe even CO will increase the damage too somewhat, because it's like the direct hit damage. Oh, I could be wrong. Actually, wait a minute. Let me try that. Actually, you know what? Doesn't matter. We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it more. But yeah, because Slash is so restrictive by this factor, it kind of becomes terrible, because there's so much working against it now, with the removal of the multipliers from the enemy health types, the increase in health, all that other stuff. Like, the only reason Slash was good before the changes was because the enemy health was so low below the armor that it made it easy to do this sort of thing. But now that it's gone, it's kind of pointless. Or, I guess I shouldn't say pointless, but not as ideal to build into Slash now, because of how much is working against it these days. Especially because the other elemental types, like Electric and Heat, though their DOTs do scale with their own mods, unlike Slash, which doesn't. Slash, at its worst, I would say, is D tier. Like, it's barely noticeable on a lot of weapons, even with innate Slash, unless you can get so many Slash sticks going that can kill the enemy just from the sheer amount. Or it can be a B- on high base damage weapons, like sniper rifles, that could take advantage of high, like, crit multipliers as well, with higher munitions, or even internal bleeding, somewhat. You can't survive with a 1 build. I suppose you're going to talk about viral diluting other elements and the opportunity cost. Yes, and that's a big factor about viral. EHP went down, but red health went up, which killed Slash. Yeah, Stance. Stelto would like to speak. Stelto's okay, Sly. Like, it's not bad. It's great. But it's not incredible. Oh, wow, 43 viewers. Hell yeah. Welcome to the stream, everybody. I haven't had that big of an audience in a while. Impact S tier, changed my... Impact, see, I put in B. Like, it's really good. Like, I love Impact myself. But its niche is with finishers, which, although really good, isn't incredible. It's really good, though. Like, Impact is still really good. Like, if you build into it, it's perfect. Isn't that a new record site? It is. Like, I think the highest was, like, 35. 25... It was 25 and then it became 35. Okay, so now that we have the physical types out of the way, let's look into the elemental types. Let us start off with Toxin. Primed Fever Strike right here. I believe we can remove it. Yeah, so here's our base damage. We have 81 Toxin. So what makes Toxin so good, and why I consider it personally to be the better Slash by a pretty, like, big long shot. So the way Toxin works is that A, it bypasses shields, which old Slash used to do a long time ago, but then got changed, which, pretty good change, I would say. Like, I think that was a good choice, although it's kind of weird. Super says, quick question, what is your favorite arcane to use on the Arca Cisco? I use an Enervate, but I'm wondering if something else. I personally, Super, use either Deadhead, or I like to use Secondary Shiver, which I know people say is taboo, but genuinely I like it. It's a fun arcane to play around. Not amazing, but it's fun, so that's why I like it. So what makes Toxin good is that despite the matchup here, where it's only good against armor, it's also amazing against any shielded targets because it bypasses shields, which effectively makes it good against two factions now. If you put the Amalgam together, the Amalgam faction from Jupiter together, you have Corpus, and then you have the Tech Rot. Amazing. Secondary Shiver is good if you build for it. Yeah. I would say so. Yeah, no worries, Super. And Toxin, because it bypasses all those, despite the multiplier, it's good against like a pretty decent number of factions. The only thing that I wouldn't say kills it, but reduces it significantly is armor. So let me show you. Oh wait, I gotta reset. Like I said, I did not plan this. So here we go. So we have Toxin going off. So there's the Toxin. See, the Toxin is not bypassing the armor. Let's do this now. And now let's hit. And now you can see that it is somewhat. Oh, god damn it. I might mod saturation, that way I can actually see the Toxin properly. Yeah, see the Toxin right there? Now it may look kinda low. Secondary shiver bonus is multiplicative of multi-seal weapons, by the way. Yeah, it is. That's also why I like it N. It's really good because of that. It could even, in a sense, if you wanted to, you could even use it to outright replace the galvanized mods in that case. Because you get that. Oh, hey, 50 viewers. Hell yeah. Welcome to the stream. Alright, so now we're going to put on Primed Fever Strike. So the 165 Toxin, 431 right here, and then this. So what we're going to do is do this, and now see the Toxin damage. It's significantly higher. Toxin, there we go. See, the Toxin multiplier is much, 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 much higher than the slash. Significantly. Hey, Sci-Fi, how's it going, man? Doing pretty good, Andrew. How you doing? Fun fact, Affliction can reapply Toxin or Elemental Ward. Now, that is interesting. Shiver and Ice Storm and whatever the other arcane is become god tier with Shiver Contagion on Nautilus Prime, Sentinel Weapon for cold spreading, and max stacks instantly at all times as Cordon Grab. That's pretty good, Brendan. I've used that before a while ago. My issue with cold, specifically with Nautilus, is that cold slows down the grouping speed when you use grouping tools, which is why it's not bad, it's great. Like, I do like cold a lot. Might be easier to put on Lavos for the saturation. True, true. But yeah, basically, the Toxin mod not only boosted the direct damage we got, but it also boosts the elemental damage, like the status damage mods. Did you see the Lavos Elemental Ward video? I have, Sly. I thought it was pretty good. It's from I can't remember that YouTuber's name. He did one recently on Loki, where it was like a Loki ASMR, which was pretty funny. I got laser shot into my eyeballs yesterday. The world is far clearer now. Hell yeah. Cool thumbnail. Thank you, Arsen. But yeah, actually, you know what? I have a better idea. So we don't get any slash, I know what we can use. What we're going to use this time. The one and only Phantasma. There it is. So what we're going to do is put Toxin on. Where's Toxin? Where's Toxin? Toxin, Toxin. Toxin. There it is. So we're going to put this on. So now the Toxin damage is 13.8. And I believe... Let's see what we got. I'll have to look at the math again because my brain isn't working properly right now. So as you can see, the base Toxin damage is not amazing because of the armor. But once we remove the armor and do it again, it is significantly higher because we remove the armor. Yeah, like that. And then the crits are also increasing it too. Speaking of CCing grouping things, the other day I discovered larva cannot pull stasis targets. Kind of funny though, seeing it latch on when stasis turns off. That should have been changed, Hydro Potato. Because I know a lot of grouping tools do work with stasis. Although then again, I haven't tested larva in a while, so it might have gotten changed by mistake. Not even kidding, apparently there was a film that formed after cataract surgery that never got cleaned off. That's been a thing for 4 years now. Jesus Christ. That sounds awful. But yeah, let me add more Toxin now. Open this up. Where is Toxin? Toxin. There it is. Toxic Barrage. So we got this now. And then I believe our Riven has Toxin, right? Let me see. No, it has negative impact. Might actually be a bit... Actually, no, it wouldn't be a bad idea to do this because we're not fighting Corpus for the Bane modifier. And it's just magazine capacity and sash chat. So we're going to put all these on. So now that we've reduced the impact, it means that we should be getting way more Toxin procs now. So, with armor, damage difference isn't crazy. Without armor, look how high those procs are now. That is not bad. It also depends on where we hit weak points as well. Because if we hit the head, I'm going to wait for the Toxin procs to go away. And then we'll do some headshot multipliers. Like that. See how much higher the Toxin procs become. Like, some of them are hitting the thousands already. So let's see, great, but it's like the contrast, saturation, and brightness got bumped up, which is nice. Hell yeah. I used it like yesterday fighting Ambulus and could only yoink things to the edge of Cataclysm and get stuck because stasis triggers. Interesting. Yeah, I noticed that with Larva and Stasis right after it changes to grouping and Stasis. Interesting. So let's see. Oh, I read that. Another thing people always underestimate is fire rate in conjunction with status chance. Even with lower status chance, you will still proc. Yeah, Brendan, that's the other thing too. Like, fire rate, I'm gonna go over it in the video, obviously, right? But fire rate, in some cases, is probably better than actual damage, like damage increases, because you're able to get out more hits at a time. Like, think about it this way. Like, say you have 2 different hits, like 2 shots in 2 different, like, styles, right? The first 2 hits do 100 damage, but they have a 1 second difference between each other. The second one has 75 damage per shot, but they have a half a second difference between each other. The second one, the half a second difference, is going to obviously be better, because even though the actual damage is lower, the time between hits, like the time to kill, is reduced. So because of that, your DPS is higher in that regard. Which is why I've always found fire rate to be incredibly important. Same thing with reload speed, because if you can cut down the time between reloads for when you need the fire, it's also DPS increase. Like, it's not very noticeable on some weapons, but especially ones like the Aelek and Trumna, it makes a massive difference when you have reload speed. My someone has 21 fire rate, I can't use it without the fire rate for real, Xena. Also, status-based weapons that proc 100 seconds are kind of useless unless using elements that can stack endlessly. Yes, Brendan, that's also kind of true. Here, let's put so many hits on that eventually something is going to proc. Fire rate is basically another multiplicative total damage increase, unless the reload is truly atrocious. Yeah, N. That's true. I mean, fire rate is like multi-shot. Main difference is reloads and ammo economy. That's why my Rayleigh uses the Riot 848, so I can mag dump. Yes, Hydro! You're based. You're based for that. I even have a video about the Riot that I made about a month ago. I thought it was a good video, and I built for reload speed and fire rate, and I had some multi-CO, and then for the base damage I used Arcane Precision, and it was crazy. To give a good example, Blast Zada Dex Pixie as a monster based. Okay. Now let's talk about the next elemental damage type, cold. Hey, you know what? Actually, you know what? I'll leave the leave this on. Why not? So cold is a bit of a weird one. It is a really good utility damage type. It's kind of sad that it's weak to tech corrupt, but then again, what we're going to talk about here in a moment is why I don't think it's super important to have on your actual weapons. So what cold does, as you probably guessed, is that it slows enemies down significantly. It can even freeze enemies with an increased critical damage, critical damage. And then when the enemy is frozen, the effect is doubled. Fire rate and minus weapon recoil are two underrated stats. Yeah. Primary crux, low-key, go arcane with status weapons and fire rate. Based. Merlina Guardian gets 200% fire rate plus reload speed, so I don't worry about reload speed. Cascadian Flare, viral heat for comfort. I do wonder about the riot using conjunctive voltage. I haven't put in the math to see. I've tried it before, Beatrix. I wasn't very impressed, but then again, I didn't give it too much time because I personally have never found a really use for voltage. Like, I like the concept of that arcane. It's just that it just doesn't feel that good to use to me. But anyway, let me get back to it. So what cold does, as you can probably guess, I'm going to unpause the AI, is that it slows enemies down, the specific enemy. But because I have the radiation too, they're attacking each other. But as you can see, it slows enemies down, which in turn reduces enemy DPS, and especially against Eximus units. Let me pull out an Eximus unit, actually. It still works on Eximus, somewhat. It's capped. Like, the status chance is capped. I'm still going to pull it out. As you can see, this guy is slowed. Not enough where it's a crazy difference, but it does slow them down significantly when it comes to all of their animations. Giving it like a light CC that you could use against overguard units, but mainly for normal enemies. Where cold really shines, though, is not only as a priming status to slow enemies down and get that extra critical damage, so high crit weapons specifically can take advantage of the status effect. Laughs and, what's it called? Lieutenant Galaxian. Oh, thank you, Bella. Thank you for subscribing. Welcome to the stream. I've enjoyed Crux on the Storm Prime, but don't think it's optional or optimal. I've been using Crux on it for a while, actually, and I love it on the Strun. The main thing I don't like about Cold is that it can't refresh itself. Frozen enemies can't get more procs. Not exactly. Like, you can still keep, like, applying the procs, so even when it starts breaking down, it'll go back up again, so it's not that big of a deal. But where where Cold really shines is with this mod, Shivering Contagion. As well as the Arcane. Where is it? Primary Frostbite, where you get increased multi-shot and critical damage on top of the passive of Cold. So now when we combine it, unpause the AI. So now when I do this, all of the enemies are frozen. They are completely unable to do anything. So combine this with, say, a status duration mod, and you can have perma CC effectively. Especially because Shivering Contagion is 100% chance. The problem, though, with this method, and this is why I like doing this on companions instead, is that as cool as this is, Cold is better as a priming status. Hey Austin, how you doing? So this is where you can get Shivering Contagion on your Sentinel, Nautilus with Cord and Ice Balls and still use Arcane Frostbite. Yes, you can still build it because it's determined if Cold is on the enemy itself when you do your stuff. So for example, let me rearrange this. What we're going to do is this. So now we got Cold, Radiation, Magnetic, and Gas. And since I have Duplex Bond, they'll spread. Oh wait. I need to put Shivering Contagion on. Nope, wrong spot. Here we go, here. So what we're going to do is put Shivering Contagion on. Here it is. So we have Radiation to draw aggro, Magnetic and Gas for priming, and then the Cold for the extra crit damage. And since I can do it to the Rift like this, I'm just going to let this guy do his thing. There we go. See. With this, you can have an amazing, not only status spreader with your companion, but CC priming. So because of this, you could just let your companion spread the cold and not have to worry about damage as much, especially with combined radiation, because the enemies will start attacking each other. But herein lies the big problem with cold, like I mentioned. It overshadows status effects like Viral, which can be very helpful. But more importantly, it's a status effect that's less good on your weapon and better on your companion. Mainly Sentinel companions. Watch what happens with Nautilus, Corn Ability, and Shivering Contagion. Oh yeah, Brendan, I can pull that out real quick. Do that. We're gonna switch to Cordon real quick from Nautilus. Nautilus, there you are. Yeah, I got the same build right here, so what we're gonna do is spawn this. And we're gonna use that, then we're gonna let it do its thing. There we go. Oh, it does work. Nice. Alright, I'm thinking of this one. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's pretty good. So Puncture Cold is its own crit setup, huh? Pretty much, Lord. Like, if you combine Cold and Puncture together, it could be pretty good. But Cold specifically on your companion, and then Puncture on your weapon. That's like the crit damage setup that you could go for. If you wanted to. But yeah, like, Cold, really good as a priming status, really good as a CC status, especially when combined with Radiation, where they just slow and start attacking each other like this. I'm gonna let it do its thing like that. Like that, yeah. He's still attacking me because he's not aggroed anymore. But the problem is, like I said, it's better on companions than it is on your weapon, despite how good the arcanes are. So because of this, I am going to give Cold a B, right above Impact, because if you do Cold and Impact together, let me actually get this build out real quick so you can see what I'm about to show. A Cold Corrosive Impact build on the, where is it? Where is this weapon? Where's my Tentaclaxion? Is this the Impact one? It is. Okay, so this build right here with Cold and Impact, like this. And I also have the Arcane that disarms enemies too. It's basically free CC. And because of the Impact Stagger, they'll be frozen in the stagger position until that happens. Not super reliable, but it helps. So yeah, they're disarmed like that. And what's funny is if you use the setup specifically against a Sister or a Lich, they'll just get infinite frozen and infinite impact staggered, which makes it even funnier. Let me remove this. There we go. So yeah, Cold, easy B, like just above Impact. Really good when put on a companion. Or you can build so much base damage that the need for Cold doesn't really... I don't know how to put it. Like, raw damage builds are good, but DOTs are obviously better because you get extra damage. So Cold's really good. Really, really good. Can't believe they're killing Oxalus's main use by making flower things you can pick up. Ah, I see. Are you running Arcane Ice Storm on Limbo? No, Arson. Not for this. But yeah, Arcane Ice Storm is pretty good. Like I said, Cold, very good. It has its niche, and it's very powerful. Can make God tier Frost be freeze with all the Cold Arcanes and the Corden Shivering Contagion combo. Then use Arcane True Sealants, get max viral stacks every time you use Avalanche. That's pretty funny. But yeah, Cold's really good. Really, really good. Alright, so now we're gonna go and talk about heat. So I'm gonna... Okay, not this weapon. This is a different one I'm thinking of. Or actually, you know what? No, we'll talk about electric first. So electricity is one of the more interesting ones. I don't like Ice Storm because I tried running Frost with it, but the thing is range increases globe size, which means harder to manage oozing the globe, so I keep having no stacks. I see, fair. For Impact, don't forget Primary Accelerate for good. That's true. Like, Impact is also good. Like I said, Impact, the ultimate utility stat when it comes to weapons. Like, if you want utility, it's perfect. Okay, so now we have Electric. So Electric's an interesting one, where it's a DOT, where it stuns enemies, and does an electric AoE damage effect called Tesla Chain, where it will affect nearby targets if they're within 3 meters of the enemy. So because of this, it's typically better to group enemies up, like this. So now they're all taking damage, as you can see. Much like the other status effects, it scales with its own mods. So let me add on electricity real quick so you can see that. Where is electric? Electric. There it is. And it also scales with crit multipliers. So we're going to put this on now. I have a Strike One Vandal build for electric. Yeah, and I'll show that in a moment. I want to show the Ambassador first before we do anything else. So because of this, as you can see, the base damage and the crit damage is also higher for the proc. Electricity really shines against, obviously, robotic enemies and stuff like that, right? But it also has quite interesting niches. So what's your status? I don't know, like 40% I think on this weapon right now. Bore Prime Incarnate and Furious Incarnate break the game with heat stacks if you get negative IPS driven. Oh god. So yeah, when we remove armor, let's do this now. As you can see, the procs are significantly higher. The Ambassador, though, isn't really doing this justice here because the base damage is so low. But more importantly, what makes electricity so interesting... That was a pun on how you doing. Oh, I see. Is that we could have it down here, and as you can see, it's dealing damage down here. But if we start from here and move it along the body, we can also get it to do headshots, which then double dips the status damage. So the direct hit will take the headshot multiplier that spawns it, and then the electricity will also get headshots, creating some pretty ridiculous status damage from before, as you can see. Quite nicely for that. Nice. Ambassador is a prime candidate for electric ragdoll grouping sets, but that's such a hyper niche setup. Yeah, like the Ambassador is just really not that great. But electricity really shines if you can get like the increased status damage, increase headshot multipliers, increase all that stuff. But more importantly, if you can group up enemies and get headshots, because the electricity will intentionally go for headshots if it starts as a headshot like this. And you can move it along the body, which also makes it really good. So you can change the position to where you need to move it, so long as you keep hitting the same enemy. It's a very, very niche status type, and even against armor, it's not that bad. Let me bust out the Quanta Vandal build that I use, so you guys can see this. Quanta Vandal, there it is. So this is just electric and magnetic, by the way, with a deadhead build. So this is my build. I have some electricity damage here, high voltage here, and it's additive damage. So once we get the kills going, you're really going to see the difference in damage. Go. Deadhead's gone. Yeah, see that damage? Jesus Christ. Keep in mind, this isn't with Crux either. This is not with Crux. This is just Deadhead. With Crux, it'd be even crazier. Like that. Look at that. Just insta-kill. Yeah, this is my headshot build. Is it over for Chroma Bro Sci-Fi? No idea, Durag. No idea. This works with the plus 30% headshot damage from Deadhead. It does, Romagnum. That's why status effects on headshots, especially with Deadhead, are amazing. Like, even terrible ones like Slash can take huge advantage of it. Also, purple shards. Yup, the purple shards. Like, the ability to get electricity damage is so easy, and to, like, add more damage to your weapon. Primary Crux by Beloved. Hell yeah, Rosa. Switch the elements of Viral, Heat, and Slash with 100 munitions. I would love a comparison. And Crux. Maybe, Brendan. I don't know. Benefits from any headshot damage as well, and can trigger headshot kill conditionals if headshots. Yep, it does, Zan. That's also why I love it. Like, just how, like, electricity is just incredible. In my opinion, it is right next to another status effect that we'll talk about later as the best status effect in the game. And as a damage type, it's so easy to acquire and so easy to get combining, and there's some niche setups with it. Like, for example, if you use the Trumna with the primary electric shards and just put on one elemental mod onto it, the elemental mod will combine with the base damage instead of the shard damage, allowing you to get a combined element and electric on the same weapon, like gas and electric, for example. Make it really easy to mod for. Like, you have so much leeway when it comes to electricity, it's not even funny. Because of that, in my opinion, electricity is an easy S tier damage type. Like, it's so good, especially when you can get, what's it called? Grouping going. It goes crazy, crazy hard. Acuity Crux goes crazy. It does, Zan. It really does. Like, electricity damage, electricity status, especially because of the matchups. Easily the best damage type in the game, in my opinion. Like, one of the best in terms of status. Like, easy S tier. Alright, let's talk about a different one. Let's talk about Heat, because this one's going to be interesting. So we're going to use the AX52 because it's kind of funny. We're going to use Crux. And we're going to add... We're going to move that. We're going to put on Heat. So Heat's an interesting one. So electric heat if grouping happens. Yeah, like if you can get any form of grouping, electricity is like god tier. Like easily one of the best damage types in the game. Alright, because we got Grenadier here, we're going to spawn a bunch of Grenadier units instead of the corrupted ones. Grenadier. We're going to use these guys for this. So heat's an interesting one. So much like the other weapons, or other status types, the DOT will double dip with Banes. So for example here, you see that? The damage is like 169 or whatever it is, 2506. And this is the other thing too about heat. All of the damage from heat procs apply at the same time. So instead of it working like slash ticks, for example, or electric ticks, where they apply one at a time, heat will apply all in one instance. So now let me remove the Bane, so you can see the damage difference now. So we'll remove that. It also removes the crit multiplier a little bit too. Now when we do this, see the damage difference is not as good as before. Yeah, big difference. Big difference. Because we reduced the crit multiplier, and we also got rid of the Bane modifier. So the damage is now significantly lower. So we're going to put that back on. But what makes heat so interesting is with how it applies to other methods of heat. So for example, we're going to do this. So look at the heat damage. 5,755. What we're going to do now is prime a little bit. Like that. And now we're going to increase the multiplier with heat. Look how much higher that multiplier is this time. Like that. I want to try Arcane Hotshot. I'm personally not interested in it, Xena. Like, I don't get the hype behind that Arcane personally, but hey, people can use whatever they feel like. The reason why use Pistol Elementalist, yeah, like, that'll factor into what we're talking about here too. The way heat scales, because of the thing with the damage instances all applying at once, because of that, it snapshots whatever multipliers were used on the first proc that you do with the weapon. It's just min-max Mesa build and probably Ureli. Maybe slight. I'm personally just not interested in Hotshot. I don't think it's that good. It's not bad, but it's not great, in my opinion. Let me drink real quick. My throat's killing me. And the reason why this happens, because of how the damage stacks on top of each other, he inherits a hell of a drug. Yes, that's what's called a heat inherit. Basically, whatever the first proc was, will snapshot those multipliers to every other proc you create. So, you know how that damage that we got was pretty high? Let's get a different weapon out, like the Phantasma. Let's get the Phantasma again. And we're just going to put on one heat mod, nothing else, one heat mod. Yeah, we'll keep this on. It doesn't impact us too much with what we're doing here. We put heat back on. Where's heat? Heat. There it is. Scattering Inferno. So we got this. So we're going to spawn the enemies again. So let's do that. Alright, now we're going to stack up the heat like this. Look at all those procs. Now, of course, other crits will need to take into account. As you can see, it's lower. Now let's put on the AX52. Like what we showed before, because the new procs will also take into account the multipliers, I believe. I'm still wrapping my head around it. Heat Inherit as well. So this is going to be a little weird. So now, we're going to use this multiplier instead, and then we're going to increase it with this. Heat's okay, but let's do it with this one now. Damage multiplier is higher there. Then again, though, this thing isn't a very high status damage weapon, or status chance weapon. Heat feels to me like the good stuff element, like has multiple different mechanics that are good, but reach the critical mass that leads to it being so good on like other elements, single good niche. I could see that, Snivy, but there's some reasons why I still put electricity above it personally. I think heat will be nerfed. I don't think so, Brendan, mainly because I don't know how they would fix it, because I don't even think they know why it works like this. Yeah, heat just does a little too much. Armor reduction, DOT stacks infinitely, and provides... That's true, Beatrix. Like, heat as an all-rounder element is very good, but there's one very big problem with heat that I think people do tend to forget. It is entirely a single-target element. And when it comes to priming and heat inherit specifically, it's not difficult to get going, but it primarily shines in single-target applications, despite how well it scales. Heat inherit scales off the initial heat percent plus your current weapon's heat percent times the Bane. Yeah, Doc, that's true. Yeah. I kind of figured that's how it was, but it's good that you clarified that for me. Thank you. It takes into account, it snapshots all those multipliers, and it's crazy. Heat just does a lot. Yeah. Like, heat, don't get me wrong, amazing. Like, it's still at S tier status in this tier list, but I put electricity above it personally, because although heat has all these advantages, electric also has similar advantages. The difference is it's AoE, but doesn't strip armor, whereas heat strips armor, but it's single target. They're both very good. They're both amazing, which is why I put them toe-to-toe with each other. But personally, I prefer electric, because then I don't have to worry about the heat inherit stuff. It still does a lot of damage. It applies an AoE instead. It's still very good. As does every other AoE weapon. Yeah. I'm a heat hater, though, so... Also, if you apply heat in a large area, you also partially armor strip. Yeah, like Zan, don't get me wrong. Heat is very good. I still personally think electric is better. Personally. Yeah, besides high-level Thrax, I almost never use the infinite scaling part. 9 times out of 10, I kill something. Yeah, because, like, it's good, don't get me wrong, but it's not that necessary. Depending on how you build. Heat inherit is a really awesome mechanic, but it's not necessary for most of the content we currently play, and even at level cap, you can get by without it. Put heat with a Bane on a set, then use hate with the Burning Hate. It gets nuts as Burning Hate is a multiplier on top of the Bane. Yeah, Doc. Yeah. Heat's really cool. It's a really good status effect. It's easy S tier, but I still put electric above it in that category. Alright, let me drink again real quick because my throat's killing me again. Alright, so now we are on to the combined elemental mods. Let us talk about gas. Because gas is an interesting subject. Where's my Phantasma? There it is. So, gas... Excuse me, sorry, I burped right there. Where's Toxin? Toxin. Did I pass it? Where's Toxin? Oh, there it is. Gas. Tonight's the night. I still miss my gas IQ from how the old gas used to be. Yeah, that's fair. Gas is the element that probably has the worst elemental restriction in the game. It kinda does, Snivy, but I do think there's good reason for it. So the way gas works, for those who don't know, it is basically AoE slash, AoE slash without the true damage. So it only scales with base damage multipliers, headshot multipliers, critical damage multipliers, those kinds of things. It does not scale with its own mods. And it is also restricted to 10 stacks, as you can see here. but it applies in a 6-meter AoE at 10 stacks. Has gas, burp, yeah, checks out. For real. Gas needs. I kind of disagree somewhat about gas for quite a few reasons. You see, gas really shines in grouping methods, similar to electric like this. So we got all those 6 stacking on top of each other. So as you can see, all that damage is stacking. These are only with a couple of odds, right? Now let's actually build into it. Let me make a build so we can try to take advantage of gas. So we're not going to use this. We're going to use, actually... What's the weapon I was thinking of? Not that. You know, we can use my drum, though. We're going to try crits on this thing. Oh, it's that one. Crap. Infested clip. Then we're going to do fracturized, reset, and then we're going to use primary crux for this to get the sash chance going. So now we got the base damage from Rift Torrent here. Get the armor strip going real quick. Get them bundled up. And now let's headshot. Look at that damage. And even against armor, it's still doing decently. Gas for the stacking kill box. Gas shines as a kill box choke point thing, but electric blasts are slightly better at clearing. Fair, Zan, fair. I just wish gas didn't have the issues of stacking where you can lower the damage if you already have 10 stacks. Otherwise, the element is honestly really solid. Yeah. Like, gas, similar to Slash and electric to an extent, is basically a hybrid of the two. And even on this build, let me bundle them up a little bit more. Yeah, like, see? Even with that, like, look at that. That SAS damage is really, really solid. Not amazing, but it works. Gas is one of those SAS effects where if you can specifically bundle enemies together, I would even argue to an extent it might even be better than electric. Because even though it's limited by 10 stacks, if you can get 10 stacks per enemy, which is relatively easy to do, you can have all those clouds stacking on top of each other to do crazy damage. It's why, let me bust out my Purgator build real quick. The gas passive of the Purgator specifically is very, very powerful. Here it is. So this is my build. The Riven has heat, so that's why I'm using Prime Cryo rounds here. It doesn't scale the blast, but it's nice to have. We got our Rift Torrent. Stack up a little bit. And then a headshot. Like that. Just like that. You ever mess with Nova and Purgator since M Prime inherits its passive? I have not, Snivy. Or Snivy. The main issue with gas is that it needs a very specific type of mission to work well because of the way it stacks. That's fair, and like we are getting better and better though at like grouping things. Like we have so many grouping tools these days that it's easier than ever to get gas going. And even against armored targets, at least where we currently play, it's more than enough, depending on the weapon you're using. But yes, because it's weapon restricted, because you need good crit weapons to really take advantage of it, a high base damage or headshot multiplier, and grouping, it does require a lot to work, but when it does work, it really works. So because of this, I would personally, because like the damage is pretty solid and it also scales with Banes, which is really nice. And it's an AoE damage type that is bigger than electric, mind you. So its area of coverage is much, much higher than electric. Because electric has 3 meters, gas is 6. I would personally put it in B tier below impact and cold. Like, when you build into it, especially because you can use cold with it for the extra crit damage and stuff, it's amazing in its niche, in its wheelhouse. It's just overshadowed by electric, which you can stack with each other to get some good damage. Personally, I don't factor in grouping at all for ranking things, since basically everything works well. Well, yes, but I feel like with electricity and gas specifically, they're designed for that, so that's why I typically put them together. And grouping is just a much faster way of getting DPS. Or is a DPS increase in a sense, which is why I factored that in too. It's why I punch through specifically with punch through weapons, when you mod for it, with grouping is incredible. Like, really good. Probably use a Nautilus grouping bullshit contraption to help out with the gas. Yes, Beatrix. Exactly. Like, gas is good when you build into it, but it's still below impact and cold, in my opinion. It's B. It's a solid B. Alright. Man, my throat's killing me. Next, we have radiation. Radiation. Where is radiation? Where's my Phantasma? Since it has base radiation. There it is. Radiation grouping is also very helpful for ammo efficiency. Yes, Beatrix. Exactly. That too. It's really good, especially with AoE weapons, ironically. Radiation rework will happen with the Oberon rework, surely. Yeah. Radiation, in my opinion, is currently where Blast was pre-rework for Blast. It is, sadly, not that great. Yeah, we'll use you. The problem with radiation right now is that, yes, when you can get it to work like this, because what it does, basically, is that the radiation proc lasts for 12 seconds, and it takes aggro away from you before it starts depleting. Which sounds incredible, especially because radiation also boosts the damage the target does to nearby enemies, so you could use it as a niche and level cap. The problem is, it's not good enough by itself. It's not like, let me bust out Loki, actually, for this. Because enemy aggro, as a thing you can do, is actually quite amazing. Case in point is going to be Loki here. I'm going to bust him out. Alright, invisibility. We're going to put you right there. So now all the enemies are taking aggro. And he has the highest aggro in the game. Fun in niche builds like Loki Decoy or Mind Control, and good for new player at CC, but use. Yeah, because the problem with radiation, it's just way too inconsistent right now. It doesn't feel like it does enough. Because it's like, radiation in concept is amazing, because aggro tools are an amazing form of CC, especially, let me spawn the guys again, real quick, and I'll show you why. And this is why I always found the hate behind Loki unwarranted. Oh, there. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Wait a minute. Move the pet. I don't want that. It's that we can put it right here, right? The decoy. And now all the enemies are drawn. But now if I disarm them, they're now all going to walk up to that decoy. Which is a huge increase in DPS. It makes it so that enemies will stay where I want them to go. No matter what. Like this. which is why Loki is so powerful. Like, people trash on his 1 in 4 combo, but this combo is so good for DPS and crowd control capabilities. The problem is, Radiation's aggro is nowhere near as high as Decoy's. Like, in concept, Radiation is really good, but in actual applications, it's terrible. Like, see, they're not even shooting at me right now or coming towards me. They're only going for the decoy. Which is what Radiation basically is trying to do. It's turning the enemy into the decoy. But it sadly just does not work. Like, if you want to use it with cold, like we showed earlier with the Nautilus grouping and stuff, Radiation plus cold spreading is actually quite good when you combine those two together. And it's not bad to have it as a base damage on the weapon, because the only faction that's resistant to it, if I remember correctly, are the Void enemies and the Cougar Grenier, which you don't fight super often. Lost its boss killing niche with the damage changes. Yeah, I agree. As a CT tool specifically because it sort of bypasses Overguard. That's true too, Beatrix. It does cause aggro through Overguard, which is nice. But even then, the problem is that the Radiation aggro itself just isn't strong enough. It's just not consistent enough. Like, if it was made to be more consistent and maybe did something else on the side, honestly, what I would love them to do is add it so that Radiation disables Eximus abilities. It'd be an incredible status type. But as of right now, if you can get it to work with companions, which I've done, like I do intentionally mod Radiation on my companions, because it's good if you could spread it through companions, it's just not good to have on your weapon kind of situation. When it works, especially with the other stuff in combination, it's a C tier status, but Radiation by itself is an easy F tier. Like, it's just sad what happened to Radiation. I think Radiation should get a magnetic-like buff, where it does something special to Eximus units. Yeah. I'd accept Rad giving higher aggro. That would also be nice, Leon. When people understand Loki's kit, it is amazing. Yeah, you don't get big number, but you are manipulating everyone. Yeah, that's why I like Limbo so much. Rad Cold Companions are insane, CC. They are Zan. And that's why if you use it there, it's really good. It's just not good to have on your actual weapon. But it does also contribute to galvanized CO and stuff, so I can't complain too much. So, next on our list, we have Magnetic. And I'm also going to bust out the Vortex build, because it's hilarious here. So, Magnetic, in my opinion, is also one of the best combined elements in the game. Like, easily. Like, it is such a good status type. So what it does, as you guys probably know, it's basically viral but for shields, but it does a few other things. Remove this. Spawn all these guys. And pause. So I have no bonus damage to Overguard thing right now, so it's just flat damage. As you can see, it's barely doing anything. It's barely moving the bar. But if I mod on Magnetic, there it is. Increase fire rate and magnetic damage. You'll make it so that the Overguard will deplete faster. As you can see, the bar of the slime is actually moving, which is nice. In comparison, I can use this, and it's significantly faster. And when it breaks, as you can see, it creates that electric proc right there. That proc scales with 1% of the target's max HP, but it also scales with other electric mods on your weapon. So if you combine, say, cold and electricity to make the magnetic, the electric proc will scale with that too. on Baruch in conjunction with orange ability damage shards. It's nice to take some pressure off and use up the damage. That's fair. Magnetic is amazing, gets you electric too, has a single mod available with also has good dual stat bonuses. Yeah. Magnetic's ability to stack some truly gnarly multiplicative electric procs is so funny. It is. It is. Yeah, like, let me bust out the Quantum Vandal again. we're gonna see how it is with this. See, I mod electricity and magnetic specifically for this reason. Yeah, like that. There it goes. That. And then let me find, yeah, you. Yeah, look how fast that dies. Look at that. So nice. I love that. Like, magnetic is literally the Eximus killer. And it's so good against Corpus shields too, because even though Toxic bypasses shields, because of the health type changes, Corpus do have way, way, way more health below their shields now. So I'd argue that magnetic is better because you can not only mow through the shields way faster, but you also get the electric tick, which you don't have to armor strip below most Corpus enemies, so the electric tick significantly helps. Where it inherits the first... Yep, it does. It does, Doc. You're absolutely right. Oh, it's 3% max health? Okay, my bad. Yeah, magnetic is an incredible status effect with so much leeway. Let me actually bust out now. Yeah, let me spawn these guys again. Might as well. We're gonna bring out these boys. There we go. Kill him. Yeah, as you can see, Melee Vortex is doing its thing. Kind of. Actually do it against normal enemies real quick, actually. Do it against these guys. Now let's do it. Yeah, see? Now they're grouping up. And if I armor strip them because they're taking toxin damage, as you can see, they're all dying. 3% max health per stack? Ah, okay. Hey, Crusader, how you doing? I just wish the Hex buff to pull people was base kit. That's fair. We've gone over most of the elemental damage types right now. Crusader, we're on magnetic right now. But yeah, magnetic just has so much utility. There's so many ways to spread it. And it's really good as a damage type. And the fact that the only negative modifier... Let me look real quick what the negative modifier is real quick. What's the negative modifier? It's an armor. So it's only an armor. Yeah, the fact that there's so many enemies that it's good against and only one faction it's not good against, and even then, most of the time, they don't have shields anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. And because of how powerful the status type itself is, magnetic is really good. The only problem that I can think of that magnetic does have, and this is partially why I'm going to keep it somewhat low, is the fact that it's stack limited, and it's better for the actual status effect itself rather than the damage type. So because of this, it's typically better to get it either through abilities, through your companion, or a primer. It's not necessarily one that you would want to directly mod for all of the time, unless you're running electricity alongside of it to scale the dots, in my opinion. So because of that, because it has some of those restrictions, but still amazing, I would say it's a solid A+ status. Like, it's really, really good. It isn't great on armor. That too, as well. Yeah. It still gets stopped by armor. Oh my god, I gotta drink again. Wish we got an armor invasions. That'd be pretty cool. Well, I love how I said with the stream, it would probably last at most an hour. It's already almost 2. Jesus Christ. But yeah, magnetic, easy A tier, like A+. Like, it's a really good status, but it does have its restrictions, which is nice. It's very, very good. And now we gotta talk about the last dual stat, and the one where I think people are going to lynch me when I say how I feel about this one. Let's mod for viral. There you go, electric viral. Damage tick from magnetic status procs when shield is removed, scales with electricity mods. Yeah, I already know it does media. I talked about that already. On Mesa regulators is gross, also then use Toxin as another element combined with Archon Continuity, give you corrosive too. That's fair. Yeah. I honestly feel, from personal tests and experience, with how we build in Warframe these days, viral, although great, is just not as necessary anymore as it used to be. Oh good, I just joined. Yeah, no worries, media. So as you guys know, the way viral works is that it's a damage vulnerability system against enemies. Since it's so easy to get 10 viral stacks without modding on it, on your guns. That's part of why Crusader, but it's also a few other reasons. One big reason why I think viral is overrated and not as good as people say it is that it takes up status procs in your total pool of statuses on your weapon when you directly mod for it. Which is why it's better to mod for viral through things like primers, or even have your companion spread the viral for you, like the Panzer, you know, right? The damage type itself isn't that great, because I do know it has some negatives, if I remember correctly, mainly against the Deimos infested, which are immune to it. And it's against health specifically, so if you fight Corpus, you need viral and shields, or viral and magnetic to deal with them, which, like I said, is easier to outsource it if you want to, like through a primer. Just get a Panzer or a Hound and you're golden. I said that on the message above. Yeah, but it's also another reason why I don't like viral that much. We simply do so much damage in Warframe that the need for viral has kind of gone away. Intentionally lowering the total viral rating is important or good for high damage, low fire rate stuff like bows, snipers, both slash nerfs that can be hit or miss. Yeah, that's true, Brendan, as well. Like, it interferes with your actual DOT procs that you want the viral to take advantage of. But more importantly, we do, like I said, we just do so much damage in Warframe, and when you know where to hit enemies with this kind of stuff, it just becomes unnecessary to use viral. Like, here's my Toxin Aeolic build. But what if I could one-shot them 3.75s or what times harder? Yes, that's the other thing, too. Like, for example, let me do this. Here's my build right here with this stuff. So let me build up the stacks. Yeah, look at this damage. I'm already killing them plenty fast enough. With viral, yes, it would be faster. But here's the other reason. Armor strip on enemies, which is what you would typically use the viral for, is a 10 times multiplier, effectively, because the damage reduction is 90%. So you're increasing your damage against unarmored units by 10 times. Versus viral, which is only like 4.25 times multiplier. Which is what you would want to use the viral for in the first place. So because of this, in my opinion, unless you're specifically doing level cap content, which so little players actually do, viral, in my humble opinion, is completely redundant, because we have so many ways of full stripping enemies nowadays. Maybe Unairu, maybe with corrosive and the shards. There's just so many ways of getting damage nowadays that viral, like I said, unless you're doing level cap or specifically fighting a specific type of boss or something like that for the extra damage, is just not needed anymore. There's no point in really running it anymore. In my opinion. That is my opinion. The big advantage of viral to me is that it's not fiddly. I don't have to mess with mods between missions, same reason. Well, yeah, but the other reason, too, is that, yes, it doesn't allow you to fiddle with mods between missions, but you get significantly more damage when you build into outsourcing viral in the first place. Like, you're better off using it on your companion or through other means rather than slapping nourish on it, because it interferes with the elemental weighting of your weapons. But it is also the best default, works against anything well enough option. Viral magnetic heat and slash combo always available. Yeah, I mean, it does work, but, like, it's also just really boring, in my opinion. Nourish good, but you need mod your weapon and companion accordingly. Nourish is self-redundancy unless you're using it for energy. Thanks for breaking that down. Tells me that if I have to choose between corrosive versus viral only, armor strip is the big... It is. It technically is the bigger multiplier against armored enemies. Unarmored targets, for example, right? Like, what is it? Like Infested, for example. Viral, still going to be good there. But corrosive, as an actual multiplier for the armor reduction, is still going to win. Like, armor strip against armored targets for viral is going to win, generally. Now, yes, you could stack them together, but like I said, you don't really need them anymore. There's no reason. Oh, I just realized I didn't even talk about corrosive. Speaking of corrosive, let us put on some corrosive. Corrosive radiation slash, there it is. So when it comes to viral, because of how, in my opinion, redundant it is, how many ways we can get around needing to use viral, and now, yes, there are a lot of ways of getting viral, but like I said, it is mostly redundant because of how much damage we already do. It's why I hardly ever mod for viral anymore. I just don't need it. Like, you really just don't need viral when you're playing Warframe these days. Because of all the redundancies, despite how easy it is to outsource and how powerful it is, and this is why I think you're all going to lynch me, I think it's a C tier status and damage type. It's just... you just don't need it. It's just not necessary anymore. It's powerful, yes, but it's just unnecessary. Like, you don't need it. Enemies are like paper now after the armor change? Yeah. I think viral's math use is for early game and level cap and current meta. Yeah, if it's for the early game and for level cap, it's great. But the thing is, almost nobody does that content anymore, so it's not needed. For early game, when you're not melting everything, true. Alright, so now we have C+. Yeah, I guess C+ works. C+ is fine. Like, it's good, it's just not needed anymore. Like, we don't need it. When modding for weapons isn't an unreasonable take, specifically with the caveat of outsourcing it, yeah, Would you rate it differently if you couldn't get it from... If you couldn't get it from companions and could only get it through abilities, it'd be like a C-, in my opinion. Because then you would have to use either put it onto your weapon or use Nourish to make it work. So it'd be like a C- in that case. Viral is a status that was the meta for so long, so people became comfortable with it and stand by it. Me personally, it annoyed. Yeah, that's another reason too, Xena. It's just not needed. Sabs, why are you trying to invite me? It's like Zada's whisper from Walmart. For real, for real. Well, no, I'm talking about the combined elementals first before we talk about those other damage types. I'm talking about what you can actually mod for at the moment. So corrosive, as you guys know, is whenever you have a corrosive proc, it strips armor. As you can see, like that. Massively reducing the time to kill. Sorry, I accidentally clicked on you. I honestly disagree, because I've talked to a lot of content creators about this where people were saying corrosive is dead and stuff. Although, corrosive isn't nearly as strong anymore. The more that I play with it and the more I play around it, the more I kind of disagree with that take. Oh my god, let me fucking drink again. Jesus Christ. I've been talking so long that my throat's killing me. Corrosive is better than viral, but still unneeded. I would say corrosive isn't unneeded. It's usable. It's just not as good as viral in its niche. So, yeah, like, corrosive is really nice to level cap. Corrosive, the best damage type for raw damage. It is N, and it still is. It was best beforehand, and it's still pretty good now. Corrosive, what made it good before the changes is that basically the way it worked is with like Banes and stuff like that and the damage matchup charts, at least from how I remember it, this could be wrong, is that basically corrosive would get the multiplier against armor on the initial hits, but as you armor stripped, it would also multiply not only on direct hit, but also the damage multiplier after the armor strip was taking place. So because of that, it was incredibly strong with partial strip setups rather than full strip setups, because you kept that multiplier. Corrosive projection has like a 50% EHP reduction on 9999 Thrax. Kind of, yeah. Kind of. And, because of that, corrosive is basically the armor strip damage type. And it makes it really good when stacked with, what's it called? Heat. Because the max armor strip of corrosive is 80%. With the 50% of heat, because it's multiplicative, it becomes 90%. 90% armor strip, depending on the value of the enemy, is incredibly valuable. And the fact that you have access to the corrosive shards, the full strip, means that you can get full armor strip with just your weapons on just about anything you're fighting. In-game enemies, you would always remove all armor by other means, not corrosive. Not exactly, Brendan. Like, just having corrosive on your weapon is pretty good. And the fact that there's not a whole lot of factions outside of the sentient specifically that are resistant to it makes it really good. Because it means it works on most of the enemy types in the game. And even then, as a raw damage type, it's really good. Because it's easy to build for. It's strong. Like, of course, you wouldn't want to use it against, like, Corpus, right? Because, like, they don't have armor. You have no reason to use it. But when you build into it, like Impact, it's really, really good. Lower status weapons? Kind of. Kind of. Now, there are, of course, caveats to corrosive, like I said, right? Its armor strip properties are very good if you're fighting enemies that have armor. Without armor, it obviously does nothing. It's not good against shields. It has really good matchups it's good as a raw damage type in general, even against the shielded targets, so it's not like you're impacted if you use corrosive against shields, but it's still not ideal. It has a higher effective multiplier than viral against armored targets specifically. Unarmored targets don't have it. Now, yes, you could outsource it with an armor strip, but because you have it on your weapon, it means you don't have to worry about it. It's the other thing, too. Like, there's so many ways of getting armor strip, but it's still nice to just have the armor strip tied to your weapon, if that makes sense. I think that you should... The damage type and stats rocket damage types when ranking them. Yeah, kind of. Yes, there are other ways to armor strip, but if you don't, then you benefit a lot from corrosive. How kind of? If you can proc one you see every time. Not exactly. Like, the thing is that corrosive is just good to have. Like, yes, you could use heat, but remember, it's only 50% of the enemy's armor. And you don't always want to use heat, because remember, heat's a single target damage type. And on most AoE weapons, they typically don't have high multipliers or high status chance to get that many procs. Versus something like electric, which is an AoE damage type, or gas, which is also an AoE damage type. Corrosive being a dual element makes it less viable is the argument, not apples to apples. And you wait 2 seconds? That's true too, I forgot about that part. Like, yes, it's a dual damage... A dual damage type, like requires 2 elements to build, but it doesn't hurt to build into, especially because you could use it with corrosive and heat. And even then, there's still some weapons that have innate corrosive, so you could do like corrosive. You could do corrosive viral heat or corrosive viral electric. It's still good. It's just not amazing. So because of that, I would give it. Because it's not as versatile as magnetic, I don't want to put it in an A. I would say it's a solid B+ above cold, impact, and I think it was gas I put under there. I'll have to look back. But it's good, it's just that there are other ways of doing what it does, but it doesn't hurt to have corrosive because of what it does. No, it not exactly. Not exactly, Brendan. Let me do corrosive heat real quick. So we have Alec. Remove Galv Scope for this. Let me see. What was I trying to do? Oh, I gotta rearrange everything. Oh, wrong button. God damn it. Oh, God. My brain is not braining right now, everybody. For real. Where's he? Where is he? Where is he? There it is. On a list where radiation's actually not the worst. Pretty easy damage. Now let's get viral. So higher damage weighting for this because I want to fit the polarity. Now, of course, the damage is going to be higher. The raw damage will be higher because of the headshot multiplier, too. When it does work, it works pretty well. But, like, generally, it's not too big of a difference in this case because of the headshot multiplier as well helping. Now, if I do body shots, like that... Actually, wait. Actually, let me reset the Galv mods. if it'll... One second. My brain is not working properly right now. Having a hard time thinking properly. Let's do body shots now. Pretty decent damage because of the viral. Now let's try corrosive. Build up heat procs. Get the Galv Sex going too. There we go. That's not bad. A little bit slower, but it's not too bad to have. Works just as well. Not too big of a difference. The mods that give plus crit and status to Kubros based on primary weapon are super strong because they are flat bonuses. True, and true. Hey, only one dead. How you doing, man? It's not objective. No, I know you weren't. Don't worry about it. Like, I'm just saying that, corrosive is not bad to have. Like, it has its niche. And there's nothing that you really lose by building into it, in my opinion. Where is... Let me do scan. Why not just... Yeah, you know what? Why not try this? Why is it... Oh my god, my brain is not working properly right now. Let me do this. Now, of course, when I get the viral out, it's going to do way more damage because they don't have armor. And corrosive has no effect on armor. We bust out this. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Now they're dead. They insta-die. Because of the viral multiplier, as well as just EOTs in general being good. Could you make an enemy group with units from different factions that test across the board? I probably could. Don't know if I'll do it right now. Let me see. Oh god. Oh, 1 second. Someone's at my door. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Someone's trying to talk to me. Alright. My predisplay having the 1 to 10% crit, 10% criminality. Corrosive against non-armored enemies or higher status weapons is never better. Yeah. Generally. All I'll say is that corrosive has its niche. It's good where it is. And it's good to have. Nothing hurts to have it. Get some infested real quick. Yeah, let's try... You know what? Let's try Phantasma, actually. Be better for status procs. I love how the music is quite fitting for what we're doing right now. Okay. So let me see. Remove that, remove that, remove that. That there. Fury, Shell, Shock. Again, I'm sorry everybody if I get tired or something because my brain is not braining at the moment. Okay, so we're just gonna do this, corrosive heat. Oh. Spawn these guys in. Oh, what the? Come on, man. Do that. Do that. And then we will do that. See. There we go. Corpicide first. Infested then died. Then they died. Heat viral so good. Yeah, nothing wrong with that at all. Let's see. Remove that, and then we're gonna put on Chilling Grasp because why not? Slightly less weighting, but doesn't matter too much where we currently play. Yeah, it's just about the same. It's not really any different. You're doing good enough damage either way. But despite that, corrosive is still lower down on the list when it comes to sasses, in my opinion. Because although it's a good status, like it works. And it helps. I wouldn't say it's a mandatory status by any means, but it's good to have. Like, you're not really losing out on anything by having one or the other at the end of the day. So because of that, I would probably put it down with viral, like with C. Like, both are good statuses, they're just not as warranted anymore because of all the things that we have now, all the different tools, all the different niches that we have these days. They're both equally effective as far as status effects go. Has any sizable change been done to status since I dipped off the game? Not really, Dad. Like, we had the Jade Shadows changes. And this is more so like a teaser of what I'm going to be talking about in the full, like, video about modding, because it's going to have its own whole chapter. Like, I saw, like, 40 minutes or something talking about the different status effects. Like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. I mean, Brendan, if that's all you build, maybe try something else. Like, we have other statuses for a reason. Because it's like, everything can be made good if you know what it needs. Just because you build for the best thing doesn't mean you have to. It's why this game's a sandbox. Okay, I'm trying to think of what other combined status effects I might be missing right now. Because I did viral, did radiation, did corrosive, did magnetic, did gas. I'm trying to think. I am fully in support of that, lol. Trying to remember what... Oh, Blast, you're right, Blast! I completely forgot about Blast. Let's put on Blast. So we're going to do it like this. So Blast... Oh my god, I need a drink again. My throat is actually dying. I already did gas whiffs. So, let's talk about Blast. So Blast is one of the most interesting damage types in the game, in my opinion, but simultaneously one of the more misunderstood ones. It is very, very good. So the way Blast works, as you guys probably know, is that basically 30% of your base damage after 1.5 seconds is done per Blast proc, stacking up to 300% at 10 stacks. The on-death version of Blast is a little weird, because, at least as far as I could tell, it becomes a 10-stack effect on death. And it's within 5 meters while staggering them, which is really good CC. It's such a strong interaction. Yeah, with grouping, we'll show that. Shit goes boom, always is fun. I'm still here and not care about the status anymore because one-shotting level cap is so easy. I mean, that's the thing, Stance, like I've talked about. Just because you can do that doesn't mean you should do that. It's why I intentionally tend to restrict myself. Like, the guide isn't meant to teach you how to do a bajillion damage because that's boring. The guide that'll be coming out is meant to teach you how to mod in a way that is enjoyable while still being effective, which is a very big difference. So we got the base damage here. And once you hit 10 stacks, as you guys may know, the explosion is instantaneous. So it's like that. Because of all the blast S effects going on top. Please ignore this comment for reading or loud. Would you use corrosive over viral? I feel like only with low status. I would mainly use it, Brendan, either through outsourcing, or if I just don't really care about viral or have another way to get viral. Like, optimally, you would want to pair both of them together somehow against armored units. Blast explosions count as a weapon hit, so on-hit abilities like Innervate, Animosity. They do, Doc. They do. I outsource both viral and armor stripping to my hound. I'd only use corrosive on min-max bursts and boss farming setups with heat. That's the other thing, too. You could use it against, what should we call it, acolytes if you wanted to, if you didn't have some form of armor strip. So as we can see here, damage is okay when it comes to blast. And obviously, when we group enemies up, we get this. But what makes it good is that it's similar to Gas and Slash. They scale the exact same way. So once we factor in Rift Torrent, you'll see the damage go up significantly. Watch this. Instantaneous. Instantaneous. Well, then Firewall is much easier to outsource, so then corrosive on weapons would be best. Yeah, like corrosive directly on your weapons would be pretty good, Brendan, and then viral as an outsource would be if you wanted the min-max. But at the end of the day, doesn't really matter. We have so many ways of getting damage now. Like, because of my Rift Torrent, I don't even need viral because of how fast I kill. And what makes Blast most interesting is the on-kill effect. So, you guys might remember that I had my Purgator. Purgator Blast is pretty good. Oh god, I need a drink again. Because my throat is killing me again. And watching this stuff and hearing other views is awesome. You're welcome, Brendan. So we got Blast here. Yeah, there we go. There's the Blast. The on-kill Blast is pretty good. And then once we factor in Rift Torrent, which scales the Blast, even though we only have one enemy being hit, we get that. It's so good. And the best part is, with Blast, let me actually get a Blast weapon out so we can show this off. You don't even need to have Blast on your weapon for this to work, which makes it really funny. So if I drop Cryo rounds here, so we have less damage, and say put Blast on this little guy, put Frostbite on, like this. We can use the Blast from this to scale, I believe. It should work. Let's see. Might need status duration, though. Yep, there it goes. Just like that. You guys saw the explosion. But yeah. I have been playing since 2013, and yes, you can kill anything with anything in any way. It's fun to learn interactions and build crafting for me, even though nothing needs it. Yeah. Blast Trumda with Punch Through. Oh yeah, Apo. I have a build specifically for that. I was actually getting to it. Where's my Trumda? Glory to the Trum Messiah. So it's literally just this build, but I put cold on. I believe. Or no, it's not this one. Where is it? I think it was... Where was this build, actually? Wait a minute. I guess we could use this one. Go put on... let's put on critical delay. Why not? Oh, wrong mod. Wow. Blast. Glory to the Limboss. Here we go. Group them together with Magus Anomaly because it's funny, and there we go. Oh, that's actually... Wait. Hold on 1 second. I need fire rate. I just realized. It's nice watching somebody use controller. Thank you. I love it. Okay, this is the build that we'll use. Take off that and put that on. There we go. Now we got the fire rate we need. There it goes. The enemies around the blast died. Okay, that's pretty funny. I love to play Limbo. If only you didn't become public enemy number 1 the moment you enter the squad. It's not too bad these days, and like, I barely get any comments nowadays whenever I play online about the Limbo resistance, because everybody's been playing and they hates Limbo's guts. That's cool, Crusader. Thank you. Though that is entirely my fault and I'm not willing to take responsibility. I play Limbo on pubs and there's no one that can stop me. The humble report button. What is your mastery rank? Alex, mine is 27. Also, actually, wait. Let me show. Here's my Limbo usage. Blast is really interesting. It is one of the cooler status effects. Like, if you have a way of getting really good base damage with a lot of status chance, it's awesome. It's why it's really good on the Phantasma. I think I have Sly. I would need to look again. No max XP. True. Okay, so now I gotta switch off of Limbo to Zaku. Yeah, here's the Zaku that I wanted to play. I'm gonna remove that. Because we need to talk about a more interesting damage type. Let me actually... Let me switch that off. Put that on. There we go. What is a good way to gain mastery after 24? Kind of just grabbing random weapons and leveling them up passively. Femmore. I'll look at that later in my spare time, Rev, but thank you for sending that. Because now we gotta talk about, because I gotta wrap this up, it's been way too long. Clan weapons? Yeah, I've slowly been getting them myself. We have Void Damage and Bullet Attractor. Void Damage is an interesting one, where it's only found either through the Operator amps, so like this. See that bubble there? That traps enemies in a Void Snare. And when that happens, enemy, including allied bullets, get stuck in it. And if you have Puncture weapons specifically, they'll wrap around each other multiple times, as you can see right there, and hit multiple enemies like that. There's no real point leveling past MR30. I mean, you do get free legendary cores, which is nice. Don't forget the Bond. Oh yeah, and the Bond mod too, for that damage type. Because of this, it acts as a really good CC, but more importantly, it allows you to double dip the headshot damage, because the weapon will get the base damage of the weapon, right? But when it wraps around and hits the enemy again from the headshot, I believe it also has a multiplier like that. I don't exactly remember how it works because I've heard about it multiple times. That's how I've heard about it. I could be wrong, don't quote me on that. But besides that, it is amazing as the headshot damage type. Or if you're really good with headshots, or if you just want a good form of crowd control, you can use this. DM making Zaku, let's add a new busted ass damage type and make it exclusive to this frame. Okay, but what if they didn't? It used to be Ice Elemental Ward would increase auto damage as it counted as reflect damage. Oh, interesting. That's actually cool. But yeah, Void damage, exclusive to Zaku, mainly, and the Operator and the Bond mod. Oh, you're right about the interaction? Okay, good. Good. But yeah, it is very good if you can get consistent headshots, or if you want a form of crowd control. The problem is, you have to wait until the bubble stops before hitting again. So say, for example, I hit the leg here. See, now it's around the leg. I can't move it to put it in a different spot. So because of that, it's really good if I can get consistent headshots, and it does. And since it's a multiplicative multiplier, it stacks with other abilities and damage types, like Rift Torrent, for example. Zada is multiplicative with it, which is really funny. But it, sadly, if you're not good with headshots, or don't want to keep hitting body shots whenever you're using it as a CC type, it has that weakness where it's more so a testament of player skill expression, I would say. I would assume... I don't know how that would work, Brendan. I wonder that too, and how that you say it. Plus blast makes blast scale off all damage, meaning you can quintuple dip blast. Oh god. That's evil. You get double dipping surge sparks. Okay, that sounds pretty broken. But yeah, Zada's Whisper, good CC, good as a damage type, but very specific where you want to get headshots, otherwise the damage will be all over the place. So I feel like when you can build into Blast and know how it scales and how it works, and can get everything right, I would say it'd be an easy A+ damage type. Off topic, any busted or super fun helmet combos. Limbo's Rip Torrent scales with Temple's helmet, so do with that what you will. This is why Sawdust Whisper is busted on Blast, Toxin, Dex, Pixia. Yeah. Very true. But yeah, when you can build into Sawdust Whisper, know how it scales, and can get consistent headshots, easy A tier, maybe S tier. But if you can't... Wait, what do you mean Rift Torrent scales? So Pyrotechnics is similar to like Nullstar, where it takes into account universal weapon buffs like Arcane Arachne. Chroma also scales with it, apparently, which is also really funny. I enjoyed Reeve plus Limbo for invincible deleting. That's fair. But due to the weaknesses of Zada's Whisper, I would... If we're talking about where you can't consistently get it, and we look at it by itself, without the abilities and without how the damage scales, it would probably be like a C tier status. So... in between, if we're like going in between both of them, like the C tier and the A tier, it would be like a B+. Like, it's a good status, it's a good weapon, or weapon damage type, if you have the skill to use it. Oberon Smite on Mag's Magnetite scales with the bubbles damage weirdly fast and does infinitely scaling damage. Oh god. You're already doing invincible deleting? That's fair. Yeah. Alright, so let's talk about our last damage type / one with a status of the day. We gotta get out the boy Caliban. Oh my god, which one am I trying to do? Alright, where's Caliban? There he is. So I don't really have him fully leveled. I gotta actually redo some of this. Caliban and his status effect. I'm just gonna slap random stuff on, so don't worry about it. Tau, yeah, Tau damage. I would instead simply use the Kunai Incarnate, and that's true too, Beatrix, but there's not many weapons that allow for it. And we'll put on Energy Nexus. Just so that way it's easy. So the last damage type we have is Tau. The way Tau works... I'm going to pull it up because I'm pretty sure it says in the abilities, right? Where's Tau? Oh, it does not show. But yeah, basically the way Tau works is that when you have a Tau status on an enemy, it has a chance of effectively doubling the status proc on the enemy. Think of it like this. Say you have one heat proc that you place on an enemy. If you put Tau on the enemy first, and then attack, and a proc comes off, it has a chance of doubling the proc. So rather than it being one heat status, you get 2 heat status. Wrong button. I meant to do this. That's some good damage. You forgot true damage. I'm not counting that APO because we kind of talked it. Even though it's a damage type, it's like it's only in like finishers and slash technically has it or whatever it is. I think. Could be wrong. Information is all over the place. It's not something you can mod for, basically. What do you think about what they said on what Gremlin Stone? I didn't even know there was a dev short today. Physics damage is also true damage or not? Basmu. They talked about the rework. I would have to look at it, Gremlin Stone. I don't know what they said because I've been streaming for the past 2.5 hours talking about the statuses. Well, no, I'm talking about moddable damage types, Sly. No, physical damage is not true damage. So, or do you mean physics, as in like, what's it called? When Frost, like, does his dome and it sends enemies flying. Health tanking rework is in the conversation? Oh yes, thank God. If that is the case, yes, absolutely. They need to rework health tanking. People think that the Valkyrie rework is a nerf, don't know what numbers do. Well, no, Crusader, it is a nerf. Like, the problem is that health tanking just isn't viable after a while. Like, yes, it's viable where we currently are, Crusader, but it now makes it so she can't scale unless you either use other damage reduction methods, and even then those will only get you so far versus something like shield gating and invulnerability. She got 5k armor on a decent build. She top. Well, no, Crusader. The immortality above a certain percent, that's not how that works. Basically, if you get above 75% of the total bar, if you die, it's basically Nidus' stack. You become invincible for 3 seconds, and that's it. It's not good. Defining an entire frame based on being able to solo level is kind of... Well, no, Crusader, it's lower than that. It's like level 500 to 1k, depending on what type of enemies you're fighting. It's kind of meh without inbuilt... Yeah, and she isn't going to have any DR abilities. Like Crusader, this isn't... What I'm trying to say is the problem is that she isn't going to have any way to scale, meaning that they're reworking her in a way where she's going to have to get reworked again, or they'll have to rework health and armor scaling. Which, if that's the case, thank God. Thank God that is actually happening. If they want to fix health tanking, I think they need to gently apply damage attenuation defense. That would be nice. Rage would be cool if it gave DR. It would be. Apparently Pablo was also using the Eidolon Healing Arcane. He was Gremlin Stone, and that's what I'm going to talk about in the Valkyrie rework video when I finish that. But yeah, Tau. Tau damage, really cool damage type. I don't think there's any positive or negatives against any of the factions, which is good. It's perfectly balanced against just about everything. It's very strong. And very viable, very useful, very helpful for status damage. But there's one problem. It's only applicable through Caliban and his Subzoom, and that Subzoom only applies 1 stack. So if we're talking about Caliban specifically, it's an S tier status because of how helpful it is for him. But if we're talking about using it on any other frame or in any other context, I would give it D tier. Because there's only one ability that grants it. It's only 1 proc of it versus the 10 that Caliban can technically get. Or whatever stack it is. And the ability itself, although good, I don't know if I would want to run every single frame with it to be able to make it usable. No, he does not, Cart. Health, armor needs rework, and healing in general needs to be looked at. He gets Tau resistance, yeah, it's Tau resistance. Like, on Caliban specifically, it's S tier. In any other context, it's D. Alright, that is all of the different status effects and damage types. The modding video is going to include everything that we talked about here today, way quicker though, like way faster than how I did it today. And we'll also include this ranking, although I might change things around a little bit, depending on how I feel by the end of that video. I still gotta finish the Valkyrie video first. But with that, guys, this was an awesome stream. It was cool that we hit a record when it comes to viewers. And no micro stats effects review. Nah, we're not talking about that. I'm talking about weapon ones that you can actually mod for your weapons. Like, radiation is highly specific. And technically it's not an actual status effect, because you don't... I'm talking about ones where you can see the actual proc on the bar, if that makes sense. Like, actual moddable ones. You're very knowledgeable. I learned a lot. You're welcome, Lee. Damage buffs also are weird, because the one-shot protection of the rage meter consumes the damage. It does, Gremlin Stone. But yeah, with that, guys, this was an awesome stream. I had a lot of fun talking about these different status effects and stuff. And with that, I will see you guys all later. Have an amazing day, everybody. Oh yeah, and the Discord server exists. That's right. I also have a Patreon. Alright, now see everybody later. Have a good night.